On my birthday, my boss's son called me into his office and said, "Here's my surprise for you. We're getting married." I stared at Marcus in complete shock. We'd never even been on a date. I was his father's personal assistant, and he was the spoiled heir to a pharmaceutical empire who'd barely acknowledged my existence in 3 years of working there. "Excuse me?" I managed to say. Marcus slid a contract across his mahogany desk. "It's a business arrangement. My trust fund requires me to be married by age 30 to inherit the company. You need money for your mom's cancer treatment. We help each other." I'd mentioned my mother's medical bills exactly once, months ago, when explaining why I couldn't take unpaid time off. Somehow Marcus had filed that information away and built an entire proposal around it. "You want me to marry you for money? Think of it as a very well-compensated temporary position. 2 years, $500,000, plus full medical coverage for your mother. Clean divorce after my inheritance clears." The number hit me like a truck. Mom's experimental treatment cost $300,000, and insurance had denied coverage. I'd been working 3 jobs and considering selling my car, my grandmother's jewelry, anything valuable. "Why me?" Marcus shrugged. "You're trustworthy, discreet, and you already know how the family business works. Plus, you're not going to fall in love with me and complicate things." His casual arrogance was breathtaking. "What makes you so sure I won't fall in love with you?" "Because you're way too smart to fall for someone like me." I hated that he was probably right. The contract was surprisingly detailed. Separate bedrooms, minimal public appearances, strict confidentiality clauses. It was less like a marriage proposal and more like a very unusual employment agreement. "I need time to think. The deadline for my inheritance is next month. I need an answer by tomorrow." That night, I called my mom from the hospital parking lot after her latest chemotherapy session. She looked so small in that bed, hooked up to machines that were keeping her alive, but costing us everything. "Mom, if someone offered you a way to pay for your treatment, but it meant doing something unconventional, would you want me to do it?" She took my hand. "Emma, you've already sacrificed so much for me. I won't have you compromising your principles or your happiness for my medical bills." The next morning, I walked into Marcus's office with my decision. "I'll do it, but I have conditions." Marcus looked surprised. "I'm listening." "First, the medical coverage starts immediately, before any wedding. Second, I want the money in an escrow account that I can access if you try to change the terms. Third, if you treat me like an employee instead of a wife in public, the deal is off. You want me to actually act like we're married? If we're going to convince your family and the board of directors, we need to be convincing. That means you learn my birthday, my favorite coffee order, and you stop calling me into your office like I'm staff." Marcus extended his hand. "Deal." We were married 3 weeks later in a small ceremony that cost more than most people's houses. His family was thrilled that he'd finally settled down with someone sensible. But somewhere between learning to live together and navigating family dinners, something unexpected happened. Marcus started bringing me coffee in the morning without being asked. I started looking forward to our conversations over dinner. We developed inside jokes and shared comfortable silences. The turning point came during Mom's surgery, 8 months into our arrangement. Marcus sat with me in the waiting room for 12 hours, bringing terrible hospital coffee and terrible jokes to keep my spirits up. "You don't have to be here," I told him. "This isn't part of our contract." "The contract ended when I started caring about you," he said quietly. 2 years later, when it was time for our planned divorce, we found ourselves in the same lawyer's office where we'd signed our marriage contract. "So," the lawyer said, "shall we proceed with the dissolution?" Marcus and I looked at each other across the table. We'd been dreading this moment for months, neither willing to admit what had changed between us. "Actually," I said, reaching for Marcus's hand, "we'd like to tear up the old contract and write a new one." "What kind of contract?" the lawyer asked, confused. "The kind where 2 people promise to love each other for the rest of their lives," Marcus said, squeezing my fingers. We renewed our vows 6 months later, this time with Mom healthy and dancing at our reception. Sometimes the best business arrangements are the ones that stop being business and start being love.